You have heard of couchsurfing, right? The idea that nice people simply offer you free accommodation, a couch, a bed, or floor space, no strings attached, so you can travel cheaply around the world. Sounds perfect. Who are these crazy people that just let strangers into their homes and don't even charge them any money? Doesn't really matter, right? You're saving money while traveling, and that's what's most important. I hate to break it to you, but as amazing as couchsurfing is, it ain't free.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
Boom.
G'day. Welcome back to another episode. Today, we are going to be talking about couchsurfing. My name is, of course, Pete. I myself have not actually done a lot of it. So Alan is the couchsurfing man. He's the one who's done the most of it. So we're going to pick his brain today.
Seen a couch or two,
You slept on a couch or two, a couple of floors maybe.
plenty of floors. Just for the record, I have slept on a lot of park benches as well,
Oh, yeah?
but that was not part of couchsurfing.
That's just
Part of a big night out where I couldn't find my way home.
when you get lost.
Just
Yeah.
found a comfy bench and thought,
You
keep
know,
up here for a
sometimes
couple of hours.
when you're in that state, you're just going to have
There's
it.
nothing like seeing a city between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. from a park bench
Nah, it's
on
beautiful.
a Sunday morning.
It's a beautiful time. Peaceful. So, couchsurfing. I guess the first question would be, what is it?
What is couchsurfing? Good question. Couchsurfing is a lot of things. It is misunderstood
Like in a good way or a bad way?
in a good way. In a good way. I feel like couchsurfing, a lot of people think of it as one path. The idea that you stay with people for free. And that's a very narrow and simplistic. That's just one part of a much bigger world of couch surfing. And whilst the rumors are true, when you do couch surf with a host, normally you're not required to pay any monetary fee, at least. There's no financial cost. The essence of it being free is a little misunderstood. Whilst it might not be financially free, the idea of it, the idea of staying with someone for free, is that is a vehicle for cultural exchange. So whilst you might not be giving up your financial money as a cost, the idea is that you give up your time and your empathy, your ears, your listening, your chatting, you share ideas. Maybe you have some hidden talents, cooking, instruments to share with someone. Maybe your host can show you around some local areas or give you suggestions. So whilst there's no financial exchange, there is the idea of it. It's supposed to be a vehicle for cultural exchange. And so when I say it's misunderstood, a lot of people think that or want to use it purely as a way to travel on the cheap.
They don't want to know the host or they
Exactly.
just want to basically not pay for accommodation.
Yep.
Which is probably a terrible concept for doing it.
Exactly.
Because-
So if the financial gain or the financial savings is your main and only reason for thinking about couchsurfing, well, then I'm here to tell you that you're doing it all wrong. That's not the point.
You're missing the point.
You're missing the point. And if only to save money is the only reason why you want to do couchsurfing, then don't bother signing up at all because you're using it wrong. And the people in the couchsurfing community don't want those type of people because that's not what it's for.
I mean, if you're willing to open up your house to complete strangers, then you're probably quite a people person and keen to chat and possibly, I imagine a lot of them are ex-travelers or travelers currently working, or so they're keen to vicariously live through
Exactly.
the person sleeping on the couch.
So as a touch on, whilst there's no financial exchange, there is an unspoken requirement to invest some time, your personality, maybe some skills that you've got. So that, I mean, if you think about it, would you let a random stranger come stay in your house without ever getting to know them, without sitting down and having a conversation, having a meal together, maybe having a beer together?
No.
You wouldn't just simply invite them in, not say hi, be okay with them not saying hi to you,
Yeah.
and just going and locking themselves in the room or laying on your floor and putting their iPod in and not talking to you.
Yeah, it'd be quite weird.
Now you've just got a weird stranger
got some
who doesn't want to
weirdo
talk to you, who
sleeping
doesn't want
on
to be
your floor.
social at all. Yeah, sleeping on your floor. So that's not how it works. Whilst you might not exchange any money, you are expected to invest some time in getting to know the person and doing some sort of cultural exchange. And that's the beauty of it, that whilst you do maybe save some money, That's kind of like a side benefit to it. That's not the point.
It's not the main
of it.
reason.
It's not the point of it. So, yeah, if the financial side of it is your main reason or only reason, then you are doing it wrong. And the idea is to gain something, some sort of cultural exchange, to get to know a person, to gain a new friend, get some maybe tips or tricks on the city you're visiting.
Local knowledge, right?
Have them maybe show you around. You'll find that a lot of couchsurfing hosts are really keen and eager to get to know you, to share with you their story and some of their talents or tips or tricks. And they're expecting you to give out some of your personality, and they want to learn a bit about you, and they're expecting you to maybe share some of your hidden talents, tricks or tips. So if you play a musical instrument, they'll want to hear about that at least. And if you're able to maybe play the instrument, if you happen to have it with you or able to get a hold of one of the instruments. If, for example, you're a really good cook, that would be your hidden
Get
talent.
in the kitchen.
You would offer to cook something, maybe a bit of a specialty dish from your
Especially.
home country that they may not have tried, and that's their reward for hosting you. And you're then getting the free accommodation in exchange for your time and your cooking knowledge. And by sitting down together and breaking bread together, having a meal and maybe having a beer and having a good hour or two long chat over that meal, you're having a great experience. So you might save a couple of dollars, but you both gain a new friend, an experience, a conversation, a growth, some learning. So that's what it's all about. So definitely don't see it as a financial thing. It's not a financial tool. It's a vehicle for cultural exchange, to meet people and share ideas and stuff like that.
Amazing. Sounds
That's
great.
the thing. And that's what I mean when I say it's misunderstood.
Yeah.
When people are like, what's the best way to be a cheap traveler, to save money? You think of accommodation because that's one of your biggest expenses.
Huge expense.
And then people are like, okay, not a hotel, I go to a hostel. What's even cheaper than a hostel? Well, sleeping on overnight transport or couch surfing or whatever. But yeah, couch surfing shouldn't be looked at as a way to save money, as a way to like be tight and stingy, but as a way to gain experiences, gain a new friend, gain some knowledge and some cultural exchange.
That's just a positive little byproduct of the whole situation, but it is not the main purpose of the couch surfing.
And again, when you think about it both ways, like, would you invite a complete stranger to come into your home? Would you maybe give them some food and water, a place to sleep, and trust them to be a nice, normal stranger, sleeping safely and comfortably on your floor? Would you give that to them for free and not expect to get to know them at all and have at least a conversation and get to know each other at all? Of course you wouldn't, because you have this random stranger now sleeping on your floor.
Exactly.
And the same way, if you are the couch surfer, you don't want to just rock up to some stranger's house and just sleep on their floor and not get to know them.
If they don't want to interact with you, it'd be quite awkward.
Right? And you'd be like, well, can I trust this person? I'm sleeping on their floor. Are they going to abduct me? Are they going to tie me up? You want to get to know them as well and build a rapport, build some bond, build a bit of trust, at least so you can sleep comfortably, so you can both sleep comfortably at night, knowing that you've got a relatively normal person sleeping on your floor or on your couch. So that, at the bare minimum, is kind of required. That time, that conversation to get to a comfortable bond level. Exactly. A bit of effort, at least with a conversation.
And that's what's travel's, one of the best things about travel, right, is meeting new people and making new friends. So
and that dips into
the perfect way to do it.
The real reasons why you do couch surfing is to get to know new people.
Yeah.
And as a lot of travelers experience, when you go around and around the loops around the world, as a traveler, you're often bumping into, sharing accommodation with, sharing transport with, sharing tours and activities and sites, and lining up for things with other travelers, with other tourists from other parts of the world, which is great. But a lot of the time, you can go days, weeks, months in a country and not meet that many people from that country, because real world people in that country are doing their real world life, going to work and whatnot. They're not staying at hostels. They're not going to pubs every night of the week. They're not lining up at tourist attractions and sites. And so it can be quite a while between interactions with locals. And so that's why you get on the couch surfing experience, to stay with a local, to get some of that local knowledge, that local experience, whether it's learn some of the language, learn some of the culinary skills, get their tips for the best sites, the best pubs, favorite museums, parks to hang out at, et cetera, et cetera. So the knowledge and the exchange that you can get from hanging with a local rather than staying at a hostel or a hotel is one of the big reasons and one of the big things that you'll gain from couch surfing.
Quite often as well, if you're staying in a hostel, like a lot of the time, people who work at the hostels are travelers who are just, parking it up for a few months or whatever. So actually meeting people from that country becomes quite difficult because, like you say, not everybody, but most people are going to be foreigners who are in that. So don't get to meet anyone at all and not experience any of the local knowledge.
Indeed. And you'll find that a lot of the couch surfing hosts are really keen and eager to make a new friend.
Surely if they're on couch surfing, then they're very open people. And
Exactly. They like and enjoy meeting new people.
Yeah.
They want to give. They have information or knowledge or tips or tricks or special skills, hidden talents that they want to give. And in return, they want to learn some new things as well. It's people who are perhaps living the real world, maybe don't get so many opportunities to travel either because of their job situation, family situation, if they got kids, or their financial situation. Maybe they can't afford to take so many international trips. So their way of getting some international exposure is, rather than them having to go spend time and money traveling, the international exposure comes to them on their couch.
Amazing.
And so they're very chatty. So you definitely can't go couch surfing if you're not in a chatty mood.
Yeah.
There's been times where I'm feeling revived and I've slept well and I've got full of energy and I really want to meet some locals and I've got plenty of time and patience and I'm ready to chew anyone's ear off and talk for hours and hours and hours and listen for hours and hours and hours. So that's a good frame of mind. That's a good place to be to go couch surfing. Whereas if you're tired and run down and you're not in a very chatty social mood, it's not a good time to go couch surfing, because either you're not going to be a gracious guest or you're going to be forcing conversation and kind of putting it on, pretending,
never good,
and that doesn't feel natural and you're not going to enjoy that.
It's not an enjoyable experience, is it?
And maybe your coast is going to feel that vibe that you're not really that excited to be there, or they might get a little offended or just really not really enjoy your company if you're not genuinely putting your heart and soul into the conversation and getting to know someone. If you stay with someone and you're, say, their first ever Australian couch surfer, they're really excited. Like, you're my first Australian couch surfer. I've never met an Australian before. Or you're the first Australian couch surfer I've had and had a chance to have a good long conversation with. I'm so interested in your country. I've never been. I've got plenty of questions for you. Tell me about what it's like growing up. Tell me about the culture, the food, the weather, whatever it is. And so, they're ready to ask questions and want to get to know you and where you come from.
Especially Australians, right? Like, I feel like the world has a bit of a interest in Australia. It's a far off land from, most of the world. And we've got a lot of crazy, deadly animals and everyone loves talking about that. So I suppose being an Aussie would be quite helpful in that couch surfing situation because everyone seems quite interested in our country and our culture, as it were.
Indeed, we have a good reputation, and
everyone's really interested to know about snakes and spiders. And they're everywhere.
About $1 for every time we've had to talk about snakes, spiders, and sharks, and crocodiles, and the jellyfish, and everything that's going to kill you, which is usually everyone's first question about Australia and the stereotype. It's generally seen as a quite exotic and sort of tropical, interesting country.
Yeah.
Quite unique with our plants and animals and climate. And so, a lot of people have a lot of questions. So if you go couch surfing, you've got to be ready to give a lot of questions and be ready to receive a lot of questions as well. Awesome. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, you travel to a country, and I can think of so many times where I've been traveling in a country for a couple of weeks, and it's not until I got to some couch surfing, got to stay with a local, that my understanding of the locals' way of life, culinary things, language, religion, so many things really opened up, and I got a deeper understanding of it all by couch surfing because I basically had like a local encyclopedia, and I could just fire questions and they can give me the answers back and tell me from their personal experience what it's like growing up in that country, going to school there, practicing the religion there, practicing the cooking and eating there, all that sort of stuff. So you really get better than any guidebook or any other sort of book you might read is sitting down, breaking bread or having a few beers with a local.
Enjoyable too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hands down, some of my best travel experiences and the best people I've met in my travels have been through couch surfing.
Amazing.
Which brings me to my next point, that couch surfing is further kind of a bit misunderstood because it's not just about accommodation, and it's not just about free accommodation, as we touched on. It's a whole community of people who are open and interested in sharing and getting to know people. And it's not just, at least initially, it was about the couch surfing, actually the accommodation, but now it's grown to be a whole community where staying with people, the accommodation is just one of many faces of the couch surfing community. So it really is just like a network now, a networking thing. So a lot of people, including me, have interacted with and hung out with and gone on adventures and multiple week-long trips with what started as strangers, but I met them all through couch surfing, through the couch surfing community, through the couch surfing network. But never did they or I offer or stay with each other in any accommodation capacity. It was that we met through the couch surfing online network, found like-minded people who were up for a similar adventure in a similar country, and the dates and times worked out. And we went off and did a few hours of a thing, maybe just going to the pub for food. Maybe it's a day trip, couple of day trip. And at the opposite end of the scale, I went on over a month-long trip with different people that I met who were just straight up strangers that I met through the couch surfing community online. And we went off on month-plus long trips together. And that would have never happened without the couch surfing community, without that networking through the couch surfing. But none of it was ever based around accommodation.
No.
It was just finding like-minded people in the same area wanting to do a similar thing
Same stuff,
at a similar time when the dates lined up.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's what you want, right?
So, yeah, very misunderstood, even though we think of it as a accommodation thing.
Definitely. That's
much more than that.
That's what that's the connotation of it, isn't it? That it's just like a free accommodation sort of a website. But no, it isn't.
Much more than that. Yeah. It's a way to connect with people, and then you can go off and do
See what happens.
Whatever you want after that. It's not just accommodation. So, things come to mind. Oh, there's so many great couch surfing memories, but probably the longest personal connection I made from couch surfing was with a good friend of mine, Petra. She was originally from Czech Republic, and we met originally first in Iceland, just like-minded travelers. I put a post up on my couch surfing app, on my couch surfing profile into the community, and I posted that I was doing a road trip, about a 10-day road trip around Iceland. Posted that it was me. I was going to rent a car. I posted the dates. I said I planned on camping mostly because there is free camping in Iceland. And if it was cold or the weather was bad or whatever, I would look at staying then at hostels if the weather turned sour, but mostly doing the free camping. So I was going to rent a car, go around 10 days, and I had spare seats. So anyone else who wanted to go on a similar adventure, whose dates lined up similar to mine and wanted to split costs, get in touch with me, come along. So you just put a post up, and a couple of days later, I put the post up maybe 2 weeks before I arrived on that trip. And maybe a week before, Petra wrote back to me and says, "Hey, I'm coming to Iceland looking to do a similar trip. I've got my camping gear and whatever, but I'd like to do a trip with someone who's maybe already got the car situation organised." I said, "Great, I've got the car situation organised. I don't have any of the camping gear. So if you want to join forces, split costs." And she says, "Yeah, I've got like a three-man tent. I've got some bits and pieces for some camping gear." We joined forces.
Perfect.
And off we went. I think I arrived a day or two before her, so our dates pretty much matched up. I hung out in Reykjavik in the capital for a day or two, doing some sightseeing there, waiting for her to arrive. Once she did, picked her up. We got some supplies, and then off we went. In the meantime, in the hostel that I was in Reykjavik for 2 days, I found two others, a guy and a girl, both German. I put a post up on the wall in the hostel, found two more road trippers, and then by the time they came round, 4 of us, off we went. 10-day trip around Iceland, had a great time.
Amazing.
So we did that 10-day trip. We got along really well, became good friends. And then maybe a month later, I was in Eastern Europe in Romania, and Petra was keeping in touch with me, and she was back in Czech Republic, and she had some time off. She was back in Czech Republic with her own car, and she said, "I got some time off, never been to Romania. I'll drive over. I'll be there in a couple of days. Let's do a road trip around Romania."
Amazing.
I said, "Fantastic." So she drove across, met me. We did a month around Romania. Fantastic country. Had a great time. So many good times there. She didn't have to be back to Czech Republic anytime soon, so we decided to go on from Romania into Moldova, further east. Another small country, probably not so well known, Moldova. We spent a good week or so there. Had a great time, did some exploring, went to some wineries and some old synagogues and churches, and we went to a local football match and a couple of nights out. Had a great time. She still had some time up her sleeve. We still had her vehicle, her car, and we heard about the Russian breakaway state, the unofficial country of Transnistria.
Okay.
Don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I have not.
Not many people have. It's even less known than Moldova. It is a slither on the eastern side of Moldova, which is a relatively new country. I think it came about in the 1990s when the Soviet Union broke up. There was this eastern part of Moldova that was pro-Russian, and they didn't want to become a republic, sort of democratic state of Moldova. They wanted to remain part of the USSR and remain allied with the Russians. So they unofficially set up their own government and set up their own borders with security and passport control and basically established their own rebel breakaway state.
That's crazy.
So it is a semi-unofficial country, Transnistria. The only country that really recognizes it is Russia. No other countries recognize it. So it is technically an illegal kind of rebellious state.
What currency do they use?
Good question. They have their own currency.
Oh, really?
They have their own currency.
Oh,
and
wicked.
They have their own currency. We had to exchange some euros, I think, to get some of their currency. We got to use some throughout the day. We kept some, obviously, as souvenirs. They're pretty cool. Have some back at home. The most interesting about that country, about Transnistria, is that you're only allowed as a tourist to visit for 10 hours. You get a 10-hour visa.
Not even a day.
Not even a day. Not even half a day. You get 10 hours.
Oh, wow.
You get this flimsy little piece of paper that's your 10-hour visa at the border. And for some reason, there was something wrong with the insurance for the car. So we weren't allowed to take the car in. So we had to park it at the border and leave it there. And we had to rent a taxi and a driver to drive us around all day. And at first we thought, this is a stitch up. We're going to get taken to the cleaners here. They're going to charge us an arm and a leg. But we had this really nice guy who had little to no English, obviously spoke mostly Russian. Super nice guy, drove us around all day, took us to a bunch of sites. We took some photographs. He took us to his home. We met his wife, took us to his underground cellar where they have pretty much prepared for World War III, for Armageddon. It's pickled everything.
No way.
Every food you can imagine is pickled and stored in their downstore cellar. We had some really bad wine that he had made, but it was a great time. It was a real great local experience with this taxi driver.
Local experience.
And in total, there ended up being 4 of us going across because we found 2 new buddies from the hostel we stayed at in Moldova. So 4 of us, and I think he charged us $20 for the day for the entire drive around. So $5 each. I think we gave him 10 each.
Yeah,
he was super nice to us and everything. And yeah, so it ended up being a great day.
Amazing.
We got back within our 10 hours, back to the border, back to the car, and then drove back to Moldova.
What about their currency? I'm very interested by this. If it's all unofficial and stuff, if you're from there and you leave, how do you no bank's going to be we're going to give you some euros for this fake money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that works. I know they're very poor there.
Yeah, true. I suppose they don't really go traveling too often. Yeah,
they're quite poor there. Quite it's quite oppressive there.
Oh, okay.
I have a feeling that their currency, maybe they can only exchange it with Russian rubles. And then from there, they maybe exchange it into other currencies. Yeah, good question.
Bit off topic, but
When we were there, we had so many questions.
I bet you did. Yeah.
And we only had 10 hours to ask them.
Too many.
To a guy who didn't speak any English. Thankfully, we had a Chinese girl who joined us, who we made friends with in the hostel.
Okay.
And she never mentioned it in the hour's drive to the border. But once we got there in the taxi, she spoke near fluent Russian.
Oh, really?
Which was
pretty helpful.
A great godsend. All of a sudden, she started speaking Russian to the taxi driver. We're like, wait a second. She was Chinese, so she spoke Chinese and she spoke good English. That's already great. 2 languages. And then out of nowhere, brings out this near perfect Russian.
Wow.
So she ended up being a great
Amazing
friend to have on the trip. because she acted as the translator
Yeah.
and got a lot of our questions answered and just little bits and pieces of logistics, where to go, this and that. So yeah, it really made the experience much better because we really got to know the taxi driver and his wife and a few people we stopped and spoke to. Otherwise, we would have been
It would have been a bit harder
in the woods on any conversation.
Yeah.
We would have got around and stuff fine, but just getting some of those questions answered, getting some information, asking about the daily life and whatnot.
It would have been nice to see, but it's also a lot nicer when you know what you're looking at and you got a bit of information about this crazy place that you're in as well.
Maybe that's a whole episode we can do, Transnistria. I could talk about that place for hours and hours.
Definitely.
Really cool place.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah. Again, the point being that it's a community now, it's a network, and it's not just purely about the accommodation side of things.
That would be my next question, was going to be like, how does it work? But I mean, you answered a fair bit there, but how do you, the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
How do you start from nobody who's done it before, a noob, to the couch surfing? What do you do?
You jump online, the website, or there's an app, and you make
an app for everything.
There's an app for everything. You make a profile, very similar to any standard profile you make these days, name and little password and a few questions about yourself, and you fill out a few questions. Bit of a profile, almost feels like a online dating profile.
This one you probably need to be a bit more truthful than a lot of the people.
A little bit more truthful
if you want to get the best experience.
Definitely put up a realistic photo.
Yeah,
when you're trying to find someone in an airport or at a hostel or something.
Yeah,
but you make a little profile, fill out some of the questions. There's just some like fun personal questions, like what music you're into, what was the last book you read, favorite place you've traveled, how many places you've traveled, how many countries you lived in, languages you speak. If you are a host, you write down your hosting details. So sort of like where you are, what style of house, like we're in an apartment, we're on a farm, we're a standard house. I live with my wife and kids. I live alone. I got a roommate. I'm offering a couch, a blow-up mattress, floor space, a full private spare bed, whatever it is, so that the surfers kind of get an idea of what they're in for. And then, you just go into the community and you try and match with people. So if you are a surfer looking for a couch to surf, you simply post that you are looking for a surf, and you can put in the location and the dates that you're looking for. And then people who are willing to host can then scroll through the people who are looking for places and can write to you and offer. At the same time, if you're a surfer, you can look at the hosts who are accepting guests, and then you can look at their profile and see what they're offering and see if it matches what you're looking for. And then you can write an approach to them and start a conversation. And then eventually the host usually will offer to host you. And there's a little sort of little section there where you can push request, and they can push accept, and then when the two match up, it gives you a green light, and then you discuss the details to meet and for how long and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Seems pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's all set up, to cater to everybody where it prompts you.
Yep.
There's always the prompts in there, so it's pretty simple, straightforward process. Yeah, it's not difficult or anything. There's all the prompts in there, and you just follow the process, and it's a really good, clean, easy to use website.
Yeah, that's good.
I haven't used it recently in the last year. With my travel and work situations, I haven't had the opportunity to couch surf in the last year. But it was brought to my attention by a friend that they are possibly now charging a fee
to sign up,
to be on it, or maybe they're suggesting you make a donation. Something, I haven't looked at the website myself, but people said that now, they're either asking for a donation or are requiring a small payment to pay for the upkeep and obviously costs of running the website, et cetera, et cetera.
That sort of stuff, yeah, of course.
But that's just what I've heard, what I've been told. Either way, if you need to pay a small fee,
still it's not that bad
to keep that community going, that great thing, then sure, you pay 10 or 20 or even if it's $50 a year or whatever.
It's not much.
Small price to pay for what you get back from it.
From the benefits you get from it.
And again, the whole point of it is never a financial point. So having to pay a small fee shouldn't put you off, shouldn't bother you, shouldn't upset you, because the whole point of couchsurfing is never a financial point. It's a cultural exchange kind of thing. The one thing I would say is when you do make your profile, the better quality information you put in there, the more chances you are the more chances you have
People
of
are
finding
gonna-
a host.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Don't be vague.
don't be vague.
Don't be one word answer kind of person.
No one-word answers, because when you look at a half-assed, half-empty profile, it shows that the person didn't really care. There's not much to go off.
Yeah, totally.
So you're not as likely to get some hits, to get some replies, to get some matches.
And this is everything. This is
This is the screening process.
If you don't have any information on yourself, you're not going to get anybody.
They got nothing to go
You're
off.
a complete and utter stranger to these people.
You got nothing to go off, and if there's nothing to go off, you're not likely to get a yes.
No, nobody's.
The more information you put in there, the more it feels like you've got to know someone. There's that kind of like safe trust bond forming when someone reads your profile.
Yeah.
So you want to write good quality, upbeat, positive information in there about yourself, your hobbies, your likes. If you're a funny person, throw in a few jokes, so people can get a feel for who you are, so they can get a feel for the stranger they're going to have staying on their couch, and feel comfortable with that.
I guess that leads into my next question, which would be safety, because let's be honest, this could be used poorly and by nasty people for nasty things,
That's true.
So I guess a lot of people would be concerned about.
A lot of people would ask and wonder about the safety side of it. And that's why filling out your profile with good, proper information is important, to make it show that you are a genuine person and that you've put time and effort and thought into your answers and into your information. Also, there is some safety sort of fallbacks within the system. They do sort of regulate it quite a lot. Obviously, if there was any issues, they need to be reported, and people who are doing the wrong thing will be removed and or potentially, investigated further if there's serious things going on. But also, they do a thing called Get Verified.
Oh, okay.
Where you do a sort of a further step of kind of like a safety background kind of a check.
Yep.
I do remember doing it. There was I think it was a $25 fee, which is fair enough. And I believe that they check, you kind of put like a government ID on file.
Okay, check if you got criminal records. And
maybe they
check
do a criminal record check, or at least that if you are on there to do something wrong, they can obviously trace you and track you. Obviously, if you're going on there to do something wrong and not use it properly, you're not going to want to give them all your information for them to then be able to come and find you and bust you for doing the wrong thing.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like a catch-22, where you wouldn't submit your government ID if you're on there not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
If you're on there to do the right thing, you're happy to submit your driver's license and be like, yeah, I'm on here for good times, nothing else, So I don't have anything to hide and I don't have anything to worry about, and there's no reason for them to come after me, so I'm happy to give my driver's license information.
But I imagine within the community, there's obviously quite a big reviews, as it were, system. And if a surfer or a host does something untoward, I'm guessing the word spreads pretty quickly.
Yep.
And that person gets quite shunned.
And
rightly so as well.
After each stay, as a surfer, you get to write a review and rate the host.
Yeah.
So if they were nice and polite and safe and happy and blah, 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 you write nice positive things about them.
Yep.
And the host also gets to write a review on your profile that you were a nice, safe, happy guest, and they write some nice positive things as well. So there's that kind of like community moderation, the group will weed out the bad ones. And
do you get like a star rating kind of thing?
I believe from memory, there was a star rating. Yeah, I think it was an out of 5 star rating. Yep. And you can click certain categories that they were good at. So whatever it was, cultural exchange or cooking or conversation or politeness or this or that, or, you can give little personal references kind of thing. And they show up on your profile. So when you go to look for a host, if you're a surfer, you go to look for a host, you can look at the profile, not only the information the person has written about themselves, but see all the reviews that other surfers have said about that host. So those reviews, just like everything online now is reviews, TripAdvisor, Google, everything's reviews. You can go and read the reviews and see the star ratings and see all the good feedback, so that you can confidently be like, look, here's 10 or 20 reviews. They're all positive. They're all great, saying what a great host this was. I can approach this person and surf with them with confidence on the back of those reviews.
Yeah.
And obviously, if there's a few reviews that set up red flags,
Maybe
you can
avoid that.
weed them out. So that's your kind of filtering system. And the host will do the same.
Yeah.
They'll look at the surface profiles and look for some good positive reviews of people being nice and kind and courteous and polite and safe and chatty and all that sort of thing. And so when they're going to open up their house to a stranger, they want to pick a good surfer as well.
Yeah.
Someone who looks like they're going to be fun and interesting and a good time. So especially if you're a host and you're in a popular city, a lot of people might be contacting you to stay and you can't say yes to them all.
Unfortunately.
So you have a little bit of a filtration process where you look for the ones that, if you're interested in
best suits you, yeah.
music, going out to live gigs, you want to look for some other people who might enjoy and accompany you to that. Someone else might be interested in pub trivia or reading books or art or whatever it is. So you might look for some similar ground. Or if you've never had an Australian couch surfer, you might filter out and look for the people who you've never met before from certain countries or backgrounds or religions. Be like, yeah, I'd love to have this type of person and learn a bit more about them. So I'll say yes to them as opposed to others. So probably not the best thing for the very first time traveler.
No.
Who's maybe a bit green, who hasn't been through that process of learning a bit on the road and going through some
Learning
of those
some
rookie
etiquette
mistakes
as well,
Yeah,
a bit of
yeah.
traveller etiquette and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, which
But if you're a semi-seasoned traveler and you're confident enough and you're happy enough, then yep, couch surfing is definitely for you.
for sure.
But yeah, the safety side of it and just how to do it, those actual nuts and bolts of how to do it, are some of the sort of barriers that put people off. But I'm definitely here to encourage people to give it a try. If you're ever interested in doing it, but for whatever reason you're like, oh, I don't really know, like that's what this episode is for, is to give you the insight so that you know a bit more about it and to give you the information where you can maybe fill in those gaps, those things you were not sure about. And now this information will hopefully give you
push you forward to put
Yeah.
yourself out there. Give
that
it a go.
last little bit of information that you needed to fully understand it. And be
Yeah.
like, right, okay, I understand it now. I'm confident enough that I can give it a try. And you can always, obviously, when you go to couch surf, if you're worried about anything, you can relay the information to a friend or family, tell them where you're staying and
Yeah.
the name and the address, blah, 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 whatever, and how long you're staying for, and check in with them and stuff. You can also couch surf not just with one person. You can go as 2 or 3 if you want. Some hosts will accept people in groups, 2 or 3, if they've got enough room, or just they're like more the merrier. I couch surfed with a fantastic guy in Oman, in Muscat, the capital of Oman. Amazing country. One of the more hidden gem countries for another episode. And he was a fantastic host. Had such a good time. Stayed with him a good 3, 4, 5 days. I got there. I didn't know there was 2 other couch surfers also staying there. So not only did I make great friends with my host, I made 2 other great friends, other fellow surfers. And so there was 3 of us all staying on his floor and him. And yeah, we went out every other day, did some great adventures, all 4 of us. One fellow was from Indonesia. The other fella, can't quite remember where he was from. And then our host was American, but he was living in Oman.
Oh, okay.
He'd been living there for like 6 years, so he knew the place very, very well. Very generous host, showed us around, took us to a bunch of places, fed us. Yeah, really, really, really great host. He had host, I think I was his 63rd or 64th.
Oh, so he's seasoned.
He's
pro.
seasoned. He loves it.
Yeah.
Lives of it. Loves the vibes. Keen traveler, but has a pretty busy work schedule, so needs to be there most of the time. So lives kind of
Like you
travels
said,
vicariously
yeah.
through his visitors and loves showing off Oman because he's been there and he knows that it's like a hidden gem. He
Yeah.
knows how wonderful the country is and the people, and he loves showing people around and really getting them to experience Oman properly and showing them all the hidden spots, so that I think every one of his guests has left there loving Oman, largely on the back of
His
the hosting.
enthusiasm.
Yeah,
Which
that he
is
does.
always nice. If someone's keen and excited to show you, you get excited, don't you? If
Oh.
they're kind of moping around and
Right.
so you get a bit.
And as you're a traveler, and when you're couch surfing, you're looking for a host, and you see a guy who's got these stellar reviews from 60 surfers, and they
Yeah.
talk about how he was so nice and took him to great restaurants and hidden gems and watering holes and swim spots and shisha bars. You're almost like, I want to stay with this guy because
Definitely.
it sounds like such a good time.
Sounds way
I'm
better.
going to
than
get
our
a
stuff.
great experience. I'm going to learn so much. He knows all the tips and tricks. He's really giving. And when you go to stay with a guy like that, you almost know that he's going to give you a lot. So you almost want to make sure you've got a few things
Return
to
the
give
favor.
back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's kind of just a one-way street. You don't want to feel like you're just taking and not giving, and kind of, taking advantage of his great hospitality. So whatever skills you've got, or you better have some good stories at least to tell them, or be able to cook or play an instrument, or, anything. So when you're with him and he's given you so much as a great host, you're looking for every opportunity to pay them back. And of course, it's never financially.
No.
Sure, you might buy him a beer or something. If you go for a beer, of course, you're going to buy the beer. But whatever it is, And then, of course, the other great way that people give back might not necessarily be to that specific host, but by paying on that good kindness in favor, in karma.
Turn, yeah.
So you might not get a chance to pay him back directly or host him in return. But when you're back in your home city and you're maybe more settled, not quite traveling, but you've got the opportunity to be a host now instead of a surfer, you kind of repay in the roundabout way, repay another surfer by giving that great
in
hosting.
his honor.
In his honor, exactly. By following his lead.
Because it gave you such a great experience. You think, like that really made my trip. And if I can do that for somebody else.
Exactly. So you're paying on that favor in kind to someone else, and that person then pays it on. And that's the simple essence of karma. It's not some mystical power. It's the simple good energy, passing on good energy.
Yeah.
Is that karma effect. So,
well, I guess that goes into what my next question was going to be. Why would you couch surf over hostels and that? But I mean, that's pretty good answer right there.
Right there. Once you've had one or two really good couch surfing experiences, it doesn't compare. It ends up being often your preferred way of staying. Again, not because of the financial thing, but just because you get so much out of it. The experience is so rich.
I mean, you obviously meet a lot of people in hostels, of course, but not often locals. No,
they're travelers. So it's a different frame of mind. They can't offer you the same as a local experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to mix it up and get out of a hostel or hotel and stay with someone and, a home-cooked meal sometimes you miss, you haven't had for weeks and weeks and weeks, or just a place to chill. Maybe it's a bit quieter, or even kick back and watch a bit of TV, watch a movie, or...
you might just want to chill for a few days, and hostels can often be quite busy environments, and especially like the kitchens in hostels, there's always about 5,000 people in there.
Totally.
To have like an actual house, a flat.
And sometimes you really enjoy going out for a meal, but you don't know where to go.
No.
You want to try something local and not get ripped off. Maybe it's a bit expensive, or maybe it's a bit exotic and you don't necessarily want to go to dinner by yourself. Maybe you can't find a travel buddy to go to dinner with you, either because it might be a bit expensive or hard to find, or, if you're with other budget travelers, they might be just in the hostel cooking pasta and rice, and you're like, no, I want to go out for a local meal, even if it does cost me $30 or $40 a meal. It's like the thing to have. I want to have it.
Treat yourself.
And I want to make sure I go to the right local place, to the right spot. And so you stay with a couch surfer, you're rocking, you say, hey, I've heard about this curry from this city. I heard it's a must-have, but I need to go to the right place.
The number one?
Where is the authentic locals place? And they'll point you in the right direction. They'll take you, whatever, and they'll be then your dinner buddy.
Yeah.
So they'll tick all the boxes, perhaps, that you're looking for that you can't necessarily get in a hostel with other travelers, because the local mindset and way of life completely different to the traveler mindset and way of life. So so many reasons why to couch surf, and not just couch surf, but get involved in the whole community. The whole network. There's so much that can come of it, and that's the big misconception. That it's not just about accommodation, just meeting people, and then go off and do whatever the hell you want
from there.
Accommodation, adventures, road trips, day trips, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Just getting a beer, going to a local pub trivia, whatever it is, going to the park, hanging out, doing some art, listening to some music, whatever it is. So it's just an app to connect with like-minded, travel interested people. Now, a couple of little things I was going to mention to make sure people really have the full scope of couch surfing, because I really love couch surfing, and anyone who's interested, I want to really tip the balance to encourage them to get on it and try it, because it will change your travel experience for the better. I love it so much that I really want to spread the good word about couch surfing. So there's this community, this network of connecting, to the point that there is a bunch of couch surfing events that go on.
Really?
So in the app, there's this function. There's a function for events and there's a function for hangouts. So if you are a traveler and you're not necessarily looking for accommodation, but you're looking for just like-minded people to share a car with, to go on a day trip or a few days trip, to go to an event, a festival, go and drink some beers, try some food, whatever it is,
Really,
listen to some music, whatever it is, you can make an event and then people can see that event and want to join. So when I did my road trip and found my Iceland road trip buddies, I created a road trip event and people could see that and then want to join, and I would post that I had 3 extra spots. But also people make bigger events that are kind of open to as many people as they want. So certain hardcore lovers of couch surfers in a certain city might do a once a fortnight or once a month couch surfing event, like a meetup, a hangout. So they might just go to the local pub for the trivia night, and they might make 1 or 2 tables, 1 or 2 teams for the trivia night. And they'd be like, hey, if you're in whatever city, if you're in eastern suburbs of Sydney, for example, or if you're on the central coast of New South Wales, for example, we're local couch surf lovers, and once a month we go to the local pub and partake in trivia. So if you want to come down and join our team, let us know, 7:30 local pub, Tuesday night. And you see that and you're like, yeah, that'll be great fun. So you go down and you join their couch surfing event. Others are really big events. So they might go to, maybe there's a free cultural thing on, like a food and wine festival or an arts festival or a music festival. Say, hey, we're all going as couch surfers. We're going to meet here and hang out. We might even have a couch surfing sign, Couch Surfers of Sydney. They make their own like little mini clubs and they hang out. And so they're just like-minded people who love traveling. And so they're very outgoing, very energetic, very chatty, always lovers of travel. So you share travel stories and you just hang out. So it can be just something like that. And that is a great way to meet the people, maybe first. And once you get chatting, so how long are you in Sydney for example? You say, oh, I'm here for a week. I'm staying in a hostel or a hotel at the moment, but I am interested in couch surfing. But I like to meet the people first, so you can have a day and an event, get a feel for them, and then you can be like, oh, well, are you available to host once you've made your friend for the day? Or they might offer, oh, well, if you're looking for someone, come stay at my place. I'm accepting surfers at the moment. Especially if you said, oh, I've never done it before. I'm looking for my first time, but I want to ease into it. I don't want to be just straight off the bat stranger. I want to do a road trip with someone or do a day trip or do an event, a hangout. And then be like, okay, oh, would you like to be my first host? Tee it up in a more sort of structured way, a bit more of a safer, meet the person first.
I imagine a lot of couch surfers, like hosts, would froth that as well, like first surfer, first time doing it.
Yeah, they want to break your cherry. They want to bring you into the circle of trust.
Bring you in with like a proper bang, give you a really good experience.
Great experience, set the bar high and be like, look, you've got nothing to worry about. Yeah, we get, worried, timid first timers like you all the time. But let me take you in, let me cook you a meal, show you a good day around my city and show you that couch surfing. Got nothing to worry about and it's a great time and you'll wish you'd never done it sooner. Yeah. So, definitely if you're a bit nervous or shy and want to kind of ease yourself into it, getting on some of those events and hangouts and meetups first. And then as you get more comfortable and confident and maybe get to know someone first, then you can ask for a couch to surf, or then they'll suggest, hosting you, that sort of thing. So it's never, you don't have to do it cold turkey straight off the bat, just via, the internet talking. I mean, you can meet up first and do all those events.
And you could even just use it as a way to do stuff with people like that. You don't even need to do the surfing bit if you don't want to. You can just be new to a city. Hey, I want to meet some people who like art. Boom, see that. Thanks for coming.
And so there's a bunch of other couch surfers on there. Cheers. Who might be also in a city. They're in Sydney for a week. You're in Sydney for a week.
Yep.
Stranger traveler. I'm in Sydney for a week. Stranger traveler rolling by myself. And I'm looking for someone else who wants to come on a day trip to the Blue Mountains, or who wants to walk around Darling Harbour, or who wants to walk across the Sydney Bridge or catch the ferry out to Manly. So I simply post in the Hangout section looking for either locals or travellers, but I'm just looking for a travel buddy. Anyone who wants to get a beer, anyone want to go to the museum, anyone want to jump on the ferry and come out to Manly for a swim at the beach.
Check it out.
And you post in the Hangouts that you're available to hang out. You can post your little category, whether you're, art, museum, music, beers, whatever.
You're doing, yeah.
And then someone might just send you a message, say, hey, I'm up for a beer.
Free.
Hey, I'm down to catch the ferry to Manly. Hey, I'm interested in seeing that museum. Let's go see it together.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then you connect on the hangout section.
Yeah.
So,
And if
really is this great community, this great network.
And if you are looking to save money, like in that community, in that sense, it is a good way to share costs. Because if you're, again, traveling on your own and you want to, say, hire a car to do a day trip like yourself in Iceland, perfect way to share the load a bit there.
Exactly.
And, meet new friends as well. But Australia's an expensive country.
Find like-minded people.
Yeah.
And you're not there to take advantage, but if you're able to share costs,
even better.
Great.
But yeah, amazing. There's a lot of positives there for couch surfing, it seems.
So the last kind of little point I wanted to reiterate when making your profile and how to set your profile up properly, and a little bit more about the process. I touched on how you want to make a good profile, really fill it out, make it long, genuine, good answers, really give as much detail as you can so you can give as much of yourself coming through in your profile as you can. The other thing I touched on is the reviews.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, what do you do if it's your first time? You don't have any reviews yet. And it might look like your profile's a bit bare without any reviews. There's not much to go off except your own modest opinion of yourself.
How amazing you are.
You do kind of want to have some reviews. So there is a little trick.
Oh, yeah?
That I can let people know. And this is where the real sort of value comes through for those thinking about couch surfing. And it is a bit of a common sort of hurdle to overcome, how to first get going, to get the snowball rolling. Once it's rolling, once you've got some reviews and you get your confidence up and the reviews are coming in and you stay,
easy peasy.
Snowballs after that. But those first one or two to get those reviews, to get the ball rolling is hard. So here's the trick. What you do is you make your profile, and on there you can search and find friends who are also couch surfers. So kind of like on Facebook, you can find friends and add them as a friend.
As like a reference.
Exactly. So go through and think of any people that you know have done couch surfing or might couch surf. You can search usually by name, by email, possibly even by mobile phone number. I'm not sure, but at least by name and email, and find as many of your friends as you can and add them as a friend. So when someone looks at your profile, you don't want to see a bare profile. Even if you fill in all the questions as in-depth and at length as you can, great. But if you don't have any friends in your friends list and no reviews in your review section, it still looks a bit bare.
Yeah.
So the first thing to do is go and add a bunch of your friends so it looks like you've actually got some friends, okay? Everybody looks a little bit more normal when you've got some friends.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of proves you're not a robot profile either.
Yeah, true.
So go and add some friends. The second thing to do is to get those reviews, is then contact those friends and do a little bit of a sneaky. All right, a little bit of a sneaky, okay? You contact those friends and say, hey, we're good friends. I've known you for years. We've been on whatever camping trips. We went to school together. We've traveled together. We've stayed in hostels and dorms together. Maybe we've stayed at each other's houses a bunch, but not just officially through couch surfing. But they are a great reference. They know you like some of the best.
Yeah, of course.
So they are amply in a position to give you a review.
A character review, yeah.
So even though you might not have actually connected and stayed together on a couch surfing level, you might as well have. You know each other better than anything. So get them to write you a review as if you had stayed with them.
Yeah.
Or as if you hosted them.
Yep.
And so do it back for each other. They'll be happy to get the extra review, and you definitely need those first couple of reviews. So you can't just write a review without having stayed with someone. So you have to send them a request to stay. So you make it for 2 days' time, for 2 nights. So a hypothetical one, you send them a request. They accept the request. So the system, the app, when those 2 dates go, it assumes you stayed with them because you sent a request, that person accepted. So the computer algorithm, whatever, is assuming you are now a surfer and they are a host and you've stayed those 2 nights. The day after, once those 2 dates, those days have passed, once the time has passed, it will then send you the actual app will send you a prompt to write a review for your host, and the host will get a prompt to write a review for your couchsurfer.
Mm-hmm.
So then you write the review. Bingo, you've got your first review. And then you do vice versa. You be the host for them. So now you've got a review not only as a host, but as a surfer. Find a few more friends, do that a couple of times. Now you've got yourself 3 or 4 reviews.
Got yourself a bit of a better profile
Something
there.
to fall back on. You know, it looks better. It's more filled out. You've got friends. You've got 4 or 5 reviews. And they're good quality, genuine reviews. There's nothing wrong with this. I don't see anything wrong with this.
No, if it's a mate or if it's someone you know, like you say, you probably slept on their couch before.
You've probably
literally.
jumped on their couch many times.
Yeah.
Just not through the Couchsurfing app. So they are more than in a position to give you a good character reference. So there's nothing wrong with that. And that will then get the ball rolling, and that will increase your chances of getting the connections when you go to actually contact a new surfer or host. And also the fact that you've surfed and hosted
it's
looks better.
Good plus.
Because they shouldn't, but some hosts get a bit funny maybe about surfers who only surf and don't host, who don't kind of give back and are just kind of seen as maybe just taking.
Yeah, okay.
So if you've hosted and surfed, they like that because it looks more genuine. It looks like you're more into the community vibe, you know, the give and take, not just the take. And also, if it looks like you've hosted, you then appreciate what a good surfer is. And if you've surfed, you also then appreciate and understand what a good host is.
Of course.
So you're a more well-rounded member in the community. You know, you get it from both sides. So you're going to be more understanding and more in the right vibe and the right zone to be a host or a surfer. So that's the little trick. That's the little
hot tip.
The little scoop around.
That's your foot in the door trick.
That is my hot tip to get your foot in the door, get the ball rolling, and overcome some of those first maybe hurdles when you go to sign up to get your profile looking a little bigger, flesh it out a little bit, so it's not looking so bare. And you want to do this before you go on your trip. So the month or 2 before you go on your trip, create your Couchsurfing account, do this little trade back and forth of reviews with your mates. So then when you go surf, your account is ready to go. Yeah. So you can just boom, send someone a request to stay, and you're more likely to get it done. You don't want to have to be setting this up, going through this process whilst you're surfing.
No, of course not.
Because that's too late. When you're out there surfing, you want all this to be done. Your profile will be looking schmick and ready to go. So that boom, you send those requests and you're getting accepted back. My profile was something that I struggled with at first, was getting my profile to look better. Yeah. You know, with some reviews. And I just sent out lots of requests to stay until I sort of got one. But then in hindsight, looking back and after sort of, you know, learning about the process, I was like, that's a good little loophole there, is to get a few mates to write some for you and rewrite them for them. And so now my profile is looking pretty extensive, but I would definitely do it for other people. And new surfers would contact me wanting to get a couple of reviews. Or if I've got a friend who wants to get into Couchsurfing, I'll give them this same talk and this same tip and be like, hey, make a file and send me a request to stay. And they'll be like, but I'm not going to stay with you. I said, I know, that's not the point. The point is, after we've hypothetically hosted you as a surfer, it'll prompt me to write you a review, and you'll get the prompt to write me a review. And then that way we help you out and get the ball rolling. Yep. So
good trick, that. Good tip.
Yep.
So on that note, I guess we'll pull the pin on this very informative episode. I hope you learned something. I hope it's given you the confidence to get your couch surfing on and
get it on,
and in turn return the favor for others.
Pick up your recliners, sling it under one arm, down to the beach, across the sand,
mate.
Let's go couch surfing.
On that doozy, I guess we will sign off for another episode.
See you next episode, everybody.
See you next time. Cheers for listening.
Love you. Bye. A big thank you goes out to our good friend Dave Petrie of Off the Wall Sounds, who has been a huge help, and Dave kindly created our theme tune, as well as worked on the sound design and mixing of this episode. You can find Dave at his website, offworldsounds.com, and on the gram at offworldsounds. Thanks, Dave.